Good morning. It's the middle of the night. My name is Dr. John Taylor Kent. I kind of like to joke sometimes and tell people I'm what's left of Dr. Kent after all these years. That's because I've been through a bit much. I haven't had that sedentary of a life. As I get older, I get a little bit more sedentary and I don't like it much. But I'm always called to action. I just woke up after a long nap, after going down for a hard nap way too early last night because I was exhausted. I didn't sleep the night before. I got up, sorted out papers, tried to find some particular documents that I need right now, some information I need right now. And I'm not that well organized because I don't have a regular home like most people. I've been in motorhomes for years. I just happen to finally have gotten into something with a little bit of size and class, and it's got tables in it. It's got stuff the size that I actually can do a project on. So I've been forced into a little rig, and as the diesel mechanic that saved my butt out of Quartzsite said, the Bounder that's a home, that's a house. And I guess he was trying to make me feel better after I was stuck for 2 weeks in his yard after my rig broke down right in his parking lot. And my bill was not small. These folks were really nice. Twice I had to tell them he forgot to charge me for something, and it was a little on the painful side. One of those was just a mere $400 for an inspection. A lot of money. Inspection really, really helped. Life-saving types of stuff. Like you find out you don't got brakes. Anyway. And then they put in a doggone starter and they modified some of the filter systems. They charged me for the filter systems, and of course, they forgot to bill me for the starter. That was another $500, and I'm like, ooh, John, why do you rat on yourself? Why do you tell on yourself? Well, look, I wasn't going to feel good either way. I wasn't going to feel good if I walked away knowing full well that I had failed to make sure that they got paid properly. I would have felt guilty. And of course, I felt guilty and lousy because here I am setting myself up, so to speak, for all these charges. Well, they did the work. I didn't plan on having to need the work. They bailed me out. But as that diesel mechanic says when he looks at my new rig, he says, now that, in comparison to the Bounder, he says, now that, the Bounder's a house, it's a home. He says, that's a castle. And I feel like that about my new rig. It's comfortable. I haven't had much time. I've discovered, as he said, I bought a pig in a poke and got taken advantage of. I got screwed. Did my best due diligence, but still didn't catch everything, as my buddy tells me, who helped coach me through the process. So, what are we doing alive and awake at this hour? Well, the first thing is we're alive. The second thing is that we got a wake-up call. Yeah, I was sitting outside talking in the afternoon with my buddy next door. Blood pressure's been all over the place. I was pretty dizzy. And I got a phone call out of the blue from a 203 area code number. I don't know anybody up that way. It's not registering on my phone. And I just decided I'd had enough of the telemarketers, especially the Medicare fraud dudes and women, that I just wanted to let it go. I didn't want to deal with another, we're representing medical specialties, whatever the hell it is that try to scam us old folks on. And they won't leave me alone, and they know my name, and it's very well organized. And woe be to the judge that allowed this stuff to go on like this. I'm sure he got bought off and paid off. Anyway, it wasn't until about 9 o'clock that night that I realized I had a phone message. And the phone message was, I probably listened to it 3 or 4 times, and my memory's not the best. And I'm really stressed, so don't hold me to this. It was a black man. And it sounded like the guy was in no hurry, was taking his time, and was in control, was in charge, cool, calm, collected sort of thing. What's that? CCCP, maybe? No, I don't think this was the communists calling me up. I think this was literally a dude who was hired, and he was doing his job. Johnny boy. And it took a little while before he said, "We're coming to get your ass." So I got a credible threat out of a 203 area code. I think it comes from Family Matters. The inheritance is so fucking big and massive. And I'm not getting anything. I'm getting screwed totally. The land, the inheritance which my grandfather Ralph Kent left me was not small. As a matter of fact, that would be, for my humble family, a major infusion. But my uncle's wealth, let me put it this way. I have what I figured to be about $1 million coming to me from the Kent camp on the Great Bay. That's about it. It's like spit compared to what my uncle he's been kidnapped, stolen. He suffered from, what's that? Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is where you identify with your captors. You must have remembered Patty Hearst. She was gone for a year, and the next thing you know, she's in a bank foyer with a military-style weapon with a long-ass banana clip in it, watching guard over her captors who were robbing the bank. And her name was no longer Patty Hearst, but Tanya. It's about the same thing happened to my uncle, except that he was suffering so much. They had abused him so badly, and his personality was so freaking fragmented. I sat there appalled as he went from personality to personality like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm a psychologist. This is my uncle. And I can't do anything about it. I never felt so impotent, except to be there with him, to witness this weird family doing their con job. The family that prays together. Let's spell that right, though. P-R-E-Y-S. Prays together, stays together. And I watched after these people basically, I don't want to say one after the other, but I watched a lot of people doing head games with my uncle right there in front of me, manipulating his ass. Then he, when they left, and he thought they could no longer hear, and generally speaking, they couldn't, he'd suddenly change personalities and shift on me and go into an entirely different mode. A man who was very alert, very intelligent, and very aware, and very much in charge, except he was kind of a prisoner in his own body and a prisoner in the nursing home in which they shoved his ass into prematurely. They shoved both him and his wife in there prematurely so they could rush to judgment on the matter and get their frickin' blood money, their inheritance. Women get away with murder. Women kill a lot more often than what you think, and they get away with it, especially in this country. It's a tradition. We got the Black Widow for one, and we got, like, I got to be careful. I don't want to say too much. I don't need no slander or libel. I don't want to give these people any cause to sue my ass, but that's probably what's coming next. And of course, they got more money than God. Look, my little piece of that inheritance, and that's all I want. I want what I got coming and nothing more. My little piece of that inheritance sounds big to you and me, doesn't it? I need you to understand. My uncle was a founding charter member in Rockingham National Bank. Now, I know you never heard of it. It's in New England. Well, he was a hard-working mortician, and he took risks in the stock market, and he piled his money into the banks. Well, how to make money? Banks make money. And that little Rockingham National Bank, which I remember as a little boy, they had branches all over the place there in Newmarket, Exeter, Dover, I want to say Plymouth. It's not Plymouth. It's Portsmouth. It became a little bank that you might have heard of. Bank of America. My uncle was a major stockholder. And he was getting massive dividends. Massive dividends. So here I am wanting my little bit, my little corner. And my dumbass brother sticks his... I was looking out for him too. I was turning to him properly because he had a horse in this too. He had a dog in the fight. He was there in the inheritance as well. He was supposed to be. But my brother is a dumbass, and he turned against me a long time ago. Now, I didn't catch it, and I've been watching out for his ass for decades at this point. He hasn't been watching out for me. So I got a credible threat, and I took action. And then after I took action, I crashed emotionally, energetically. Yeah, police are going to be coming by here to check on me. Okay, fine. Young officers, I can't believe how young they are. Of course, when they tell me that they're on their way, getting older too, I'm looking at those two and thinking, you're children. You know you're children. And, well, don't get me wrong. This is a mature man and a mature woman. They were both good-looking young adults. And I'll never forget, I got stopped one time I was late to the dance. Yeah, I was going too fast. And this young trooper stopped me. And I didn't know he was as young as he was, and I surrendered fully. I pulled my car, it was a supercar that had been tuned up on top of being what it was, and I pulled in squarely, so it was total surrender. In other words, and I lit that air suspension down, I shut her down, and I put the lights on inside and opened the windows up. Because I want the officer feeling safe. I want him knowing he's going to be going home, I want him to know he's in charge. And I knew why he'd stopped me. He had cause. As I said, I was late for the dance. And this young kid comes up. And it took my breath away. He was so young. And he must have just started working. And I really wanted to ask him, does your mother know where you are? Because he looked like a boy. And I had to remember, John, he is in a position of authority. He's post-trained. He's the real deal. And I treated him with kid gloves, with the ultimate of respect. I got my warning. It got entered into the computer system, and he took my registration with him because I guess he, I don't know, might have been his first, not his first traffic stop. I'm certain it was pretty close to it, though. But officers need to know they're safe. Officers need to know they're in command and control. There's no better way to do that than by showing them respect and using good language with them and answering the questions. I don't like answering some of the questions because they try to set you up on things, but police officers took the report. Took a lot longer than I thought sitting there waiting. I'm sure they had to run my butt and look at my entire past. The police have more info about us on the computers than you would ever imagine, because we live in what really is kind of a police state. Now, don't get me wrong, your local police aren't going to pull real bad stuff with you, but at the high levels, they access that stuff all the time, and they use it all the time. They're using it right now against all of us. We even have the Stasi today. It's the e-Stasi, and that would be Google, Facebook, social media. All that shit's being used against us, and it is part of the big conspiracy. It's not a small one. It's rather big. That's why you all look at me and think, you're not Dr. Kent. Okay, fine. I'm way ahead of the game in terms of understanding the bigger picture. How do I get there? Well, time, study, and above all, reading the Bible. So I want you to go read the Bible. Because you're in trouble, because we put the scriptures from us and judge ourselves unworthy and don't take full advantage of it. And the enemy reads the Bible. The enemy knows what the hell is going on. Because right now, they're giving us hell on earth. And your job and my job is to establish heaven on earth. The kingdom of heaven upon the earth. I don't have a lot of narcissism in me. Some people will argue about that. I think they just want to control my butt. So I don't really focus on myself that much. And I realize that those of you who stayed with me, who watch me, this channel, there's almost 500 of you. I wanted to. Well, my housemate told me to make a video on this and leave something there so if something happened to me, people would know. Because as he said, if something happens to me, he's not going to know. He's just going to know that he hasn't heard from me in a while. So if you haven't heard from me in a while, I'll give you an accounting if I'm alive. And if I'm not, well, maybe it'll be my blood screaming up from the desert, this time to Creator Father Yahweh. You think he doesn't see everything and know everything that's going on? You think he hasn't created this thing in a way that is somewhat self-balancing, self-checking? My God, he made us so that we have self-corrections in us. Psychologically, the same centers in the brain that mediate fear and rage. What's the same center? So in other words, when you rage out and you do horrible shit to your fellow human being, your centers by which you get paranoid, your fear stuff goes right up. It's wonderfully made with self-correcting mechanisms in it, just like the whole earth here. It's a giant self-correcting mechanism for us human beings. Yes, it was made for us. The darn thing was crafted in a way you would not believe. That's why I tell you, the hope of Nineveh. What's the hope of Nineveh? You hope that Jonah does his job, that people repent, and Yahweh himself repents of the evil he planned thereof. If I can get you to read the Bible, if we can get a bunch of people reading the Bible, if we can get people to start thinking along the lines of the Ten Commandments and living properly, making the better choices, abiding by the law of life, we can lift the vibration across the whole planet. And Yahweh might repent. Actually, I think he will repent of the bad stuff he's planned for the United States of America. Or should I say for America? And should I say, or what's left of America? Because just like me, America's been through some rough stuff. America has really been through some rough stuff. And this ain't America. This isn't the country I was reared in. The evil ones have taken it over from within. They control it all, baby. Yeah, they got central police. They monitor everything. And if they don't like what you're doing, they'll get your ass corrected. They'll program it up. And they could do it through the police. They could do it through the court system. What do you think they're doing to Donald John Trump? He's not above their stuff either, but that's another story. I don't want to get there. But I want you to know it was a credible threat. I think that the contract was made, taken out. I've worked in corrections. I'm a retired corrections clinical psychologist. My hunches are pretty spot on. To those people out there, especially the one that made the decision, you're not getting away with the thing. I'm making sure there's a paper trail on this, and I'm making sure it points right to you because I know it's from you. And I don't want to say much more because then you would be easily identified. And then you could sue me for slander and libel. And you got more money than God. Oh, I have no idea how many millions are in that estate. It could be 1 billion. It's all being done in secret. You hired attorneys who are esteemed. And they've even changed the jurisdiction on my uncle. I don't understand what they did because it's all done in private. It's all done in secret. New Hampshire's really good for secrets. In case you're wondering, New Hampshire is the child sexual trafficking empire. It's the headquarters for child sex trafficking in the United States of America. And you'll say, well, that's just old fairy tales. No. It's the same people that were doing it years ago. It's the same people who are victims. The descendants of the victims from long ago are the victims today. They end up in the same place in the Middle East. People of the same persuasion, like my kind. So they go after us. They predate upon us. And we have created a masterful business around it. And it's all headquarters up in that corrupt state of New Hampshire. Now, the state that destroyed America is very corrupt as well. And of all things, that would be the baby state. The youngest state on the continent, the 48th state of the United States in 1912. The baby state has been used, has destroyed America. And it's going to be used again in this election because they got a lock stock on it, baby. They got their hands around our throats. Our hand isn't on the pulse of Arizona, our hand's on the throat. And your legislators are so friggin' bought off that when one legislature raises the truth rather than investigate her allegations properly, they circle the wagons and they protect that errant woman who stole the governorship. Yeah, they protect her. What does that indicate to me? What does it indicate to you? What is a sign of? What is a symptom of? It's the symptom of the ill of Arizona, the corruption of Arizona. And what is it a sign of? The cartels own the legislators. Yeah, baby, they pay them off. They got money. They can pay off about anything they want. So Arizona has been used to destroy America. That's right. And they're going to do it again because they're in charge. They're going to count the vote. The man who invented their voting shenanigans is in that seat of authority. He's going to be counting it, and he's just waiting for his governor to be indicted and have to step aside so he can be governor. You can't make this stuff up, folks. I'm having a bit of a protein shake. I did get to exercising. Didn't sleep the night before. Blood pressure's all over the place. I forget my blood pressure medicine 2 nights in a row. And I get up, I get some work done, take my blood pressure, and it's low. What? I'm on blood pressure medicine, and I didn't take it. It should be high, and I'm under this stress. I'm under this uncanny, amazing stress. It's not just from this. I got too much going on. So if you would pray for me, pray for my language, pray that my Bible sell, pray that I resolve the stress. Now this culprit, let me just use that term, that has initiated this contract on my ass from clear across the country, apparently, come out of New England. Lost track of thought. But the motivation for the crimes that have already been committed, the premature ending of life for my Aunt Goldie and for my Uncle Roy. The motivation is to get a hold of that pot of gold. Now, I've met hitmen. I sat with them. Actually kind of comforted them. I've met our shooters. I've met our guys who have been in the field doing some incredible stuff. I got to work with some of them, too. She's so demanding. Who's training whom? Who's the emotional support animal? Come here. Come on up here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, teeth. No. She gets carried away affectionately and has got to mouth everything. Off. No teeth. And I keep trying to turn her into a pet, and I keep having to, I get reminded she's a working dog. She needs a job. People kill for a lot less money than what my inheritance is that's been stolen from me. But the amount of money these folks are taking in is so much bigger than the corruption that's been reported in New Hampshire. But that one gentleman was offered $40 or $50 million to go away, and he hasn't done it yet in New Hampshire. And he's been advertising or making videos and documentaries about the state of corruption, meaning New Hampshire. But you got to understand, it is your headquarters for your child sexual marketing. And I'm not talking about, prostitution, simple prostitution where a woman has got to get some survival money, or a young mother's got to feed her children or pay for the roof for her child. That happens way too much. But that's a different thing. That's an adult. That's an adult making a transaction as honestly and nobly as she can, and she's in a horrible place. I'm scattered right now. My brain I lose my track of thought so easily. I don't know if it's the emotional stuff or if it's the lack of sleep or My body chemistry could be off again. I don't know. I swear I live for the doctors, and I got some good medical care, but I don't trust the medical system anymore. You see, they keep the doctors divided, and they feed them bullshit, and they have their doctors acting as their henchmen to take the rest of us out. And it's sad because the government protects and aids and abets the genocide of America today. Anyway, my uncle worked hard, and I don't even know how much his income was. I'm thinking that his peak, which was probably until 3 years ago, I'm thinking he was making $1 million or so a year, and he complained to me that the state of New Hampshire claims they have no income tax, but they tax interest and dividends, and that's what his income was in. So he paid huge amounts of taxes. Huge amounts of taxes. His withholdings, the checks on withholdings, or the amounts that he was writing checks for quarterly, were massive. I don't remember. It might be in my notes somewhere, but I think he was paying 150, 180 grand in withholdings each quarter. And these people that I watched my uncle split into, these different personalities, because they had fragmented his butt to that point. It was at that point that I realized why they had kept me away from my uncle. Because I would have caught this, and I'd have shut it down. Yeah, I was too late. They sidetracked me. And what my brother's role in all of that was, I don't really understand fully, except I know he was harming me in the background, and he's been doing that all of my life. Yeah, I know that's a tall order or a tall charge, but that's quite true. So I have a bone to pick with him. He's stolen from me, and he's neglected to take care of me and neglected his own family with his behavior. Who knows? Maybe he has a secret deal going on with them. I have no idea. I've had that suggested to me. But I've also been told by many people, your brother's a dumbass. He's not very smart. Well, my parents weren't very smart. They ended up putting him in charge. One who could barely read and write. I'm proud of him for learning how to do that. He was older when he learned how to read and write, and he actually does a pretty good job at it today. My brother would tell me, keep your powder dry. I'm in the storm right now, and I got to keep my powder dry. My life mirrors what's happening in America in so many ways it's uncanny. That's part of the way Yahweh operates, what he does. And so I was reared in a crucible, a very tough family. Tough for me. And I managed to do okay. Not great, but just okay, because the family's underpinnings were that problematic. America's underpinnings are that problematic. And in the Bible, it's going to say, your father was an Amorite and your mother was a Hittite. We're right now just studying that and learning what that means. The Hittites, the land of Canaan, Asia Minor, that's where the goddess Diana was, and that's where the Queen of Heaven was worshipped. It's also the area that the Amazons lived in a previous Earth age. So when it says your mother was a Hittite, we're talking some ancient roots. And those folks were descendants of other previous civilizations that were extremely ruthless. Hell hath no fury. And the Amorites, I'm thinking that's north of Asia Minor, maybe Khazaria, but I haven't pinpointed that yet. I think they were related to the Amalekites, the giants. And the Smithsonian to this day continues to hide that evidence from us because they don't want us to know the truth about our species and the species on the planet. They don't want us knowing how true the old myths are because they want us busy going with the lies that they sold us in the history, the bullshit they feed us, because they rule over us. And in case you're wondering, it's the Greeks. And it's your medical profession which uses Greek language. Of all the professions on the earth, they're special because they got to have not just one language to hide their shenanigans in, they have to have two. The attorneys just have one, it's just Latin. That's how they pull their bullshit over us. They change the terms on the fly, the definitions, through their different books and different stuff and, their word magic. But when it comes to medicine, they drew up the body in Latin and they split the baby. All of your medications, which are all poisons and toxins, those are in Greek. And if you look into it carefully, you find out that they actually do spells. It's actually a word game, a psychological game there. I had a fellow show me that one time a while back, and he was weird. I stopped talking to him. He wasn't quite right. He had insights that only the bad guys would have. Besides that, he tried to screw with my head. You don't do that with Dr. Kent. Not unless you want a real fight. Knockdown, drag out type. And we're old men. We shouldn't be fighting. I might hurt my hand hitting him. Might hurt my hand breaking it on his teeth and barking out of his mouth. Yeah, it's that bad. You got to understand, these people walk among us freely and they know who they are and they know who we are and they take advantage of us, and a lot of them are in sheep's clothing. What organization uses the sheep to hide under? The wolf is hidden under the sheep. Yeah, you're Fabian socialists. Okay, I've gone kind of long right now. I just want to let you know I'm alive. I don't know if I'm well. I will do my best to get myself better. The police are watching over me. Yahweh's watching over me. That's what counts. And I got a wake-up call. That's how I regard that thread. It was my wake-up call. I'm not allowed to back off, to back down, or anything like that. It's just, I'm going to die upright on my feet. You're not scaring me. You're not chasing me off. I'm making my video so America knows the evil and the ugliness that lurks within. Most of your sociopaths today are females, not males. I know. The sugar and spice and everything nice is a bunch of bullshit. And today we live in a matriarchy. And we have the spirit of Jezebel to deal with. And we have the spirit of the frickin' Amazonians. And we're also dealing with the people that worship the goddess Diana and the Queen of Heaven. This stuff is all code, folks, for you to be able to figure out who's going on and who's what, where they are. I just happen to have been in a real awkward position in an awkward family. You look at the pictures, I look at the pictures of my family when I was younger, and it's like, my God, what a weird group of people. You could tell by the pictures, like, wow, those people in Appalachia, they got nothing on the Kents. The Kents received a land grant in 1649 from King Charles. Not this King Charles. The first one, they didn't even put a 1 after his name. I never figured out why. If you're across the pond, I want to know why the king gave us a land grant on the Great Bay in New Hampshire. That was my inheritance. And my dream has always been to get that property back, patent it, throw a chain over the road, keep everybody out, and get it ready for my family, for the Kents, to live there on the Great Bay, overlooking the waters. We sold Ansel Adams' family Adams Point. I'm sure you've heard of Ansel Adams. My brother's very talented. He's got some incredible black and white photos. I've saved those. He's extremely talented. Yes, he is. Not worth much, so he probably thinks, but he never did market the stuff right. Kind of like me. I don't think I'm worth much either, but I didn't market myself right. I was too busy moving. I was too busy in training with Yahweh. He was too busy putting me through the paces, getting me ready for this. And I am, towards the end, I'm losing body mass. I'm losing height. I'm aging, and I don't like it. But I don't like what's happening to the country either. But it's nice to be a member of the Lord's host. Just simple people. Just a somewhat honest man. Boy, does that get you in trouble. The rain come. She's pacing. Down. There's enough room in this motorhome for her to pace. And believe me, listening to those nails in the tile is kind of nerve-wracking. Okay, you're not going to lay down. You're going to, yeah, rub my butt. Okay, fine. Oh, yes, what a good girl. What a pretty girl. Come on up here again. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no paw in the face. No paw in the face. Oh, yeah. Oh. I like having my face washed. It reminds me of when I was a child. Of course, back then I had no control over the dog, and the dog scared the hell out of me because I couldn't breathe. Knocked me down in the snow in New England. Oh, yes, what a pretty girl. Yes. She's a super dog. She can run on adrenaline. There's so much adrenaline in this animal that you would not believe what she's capable of. She doesn't even know what she's capable of, and I want to keep her that way. I want her my pet. And America's got a lot in her. She is capable of a lot of adrenaline, and the evil ones love adrenaline. They somehow live off our energies. I don't understand it all, folks, but I'm going to tell you, those folks love manipulating us. So if you can sit on your asses and sit out the fight, you're going to be better off because they're going to try to sucker your ass into it. Don't let them do that. When the Israelites went to their tents, it meant urinate off on you. You know, it meant we aren't participating. Leave us alone. Americans need to do the same thing. Why? Because your FBI has got you divided. That's their job. Divide you so that you can remain conquered. And who are you run by, and who has conquered you? By the devil and the devil's children. Who's the devil? The devil has a seat. The devil's seat was in Pergamum. Says that right in the good book. Yeah, he had a throne in Pergamum. And they've got that display. I don't know if it's life-size or just 2/3 the scale, but they got that display. They run that around different countries at different times. It was in New York City, and it's a way to demonstrate that they have jurisdiction over this place, that they own the planet. It's like those stupid-ass ceremonies they practice. They did that here on July 3rd, 1933 on Soldiers Field so they could exercise their jurisdiction and lay claim to this place. Or it's like our Muslim buddies who they're going to dominate our ass into full submission under the guise of a religion, but it's really a political thing. It's insane. Who started the Muslim religion? Islam, by the way. Yeah, you need to understand these things are all so connected from the hangovers, the leftovers from previous Earth ages that have been running this planet. And not just for tens of thousands of years, but they've been on the planet for about 72,000 years running the show. They know what's coming, and they got it codified, and they put it out there so that they can mystify people and have power over them, because we'll show you what it really means. And they'll open up those scriptures and they'll tell them, they'll show the evil that's been encoded in that book. And the book also encodes the good, too. So who's going to win this tug of war? Who's going to win in this not-so-passionate passion play? Who's going to win? He was in the beginning. He was the Logos. He was the Word. That's why you read the Word of God. But not just any God, Yahweh. And that was pulled out of the Bible on us, approximately 275 BC. The proper name version puts the proper name back in it, puts the power in it. It reveals so much more that's been hidden from us. I appreciate you liking the videos. I don't get many thumbs up at all. I don't get no respect. I think Google's got me sidelined as much as they can sideline me, but I also think that somebody's telling them, leave the boy alone. We can use him. He's going to help us. You see, the fallen angels recruited Enoch to advocate for them, to be their attorney. Why? Because they were in Tartarus, they were in prison, in chains, and they wanted to be freed. And Enoch did go to Yahweh, and Enoch did deliver the message, and delivered it back and forth. Enoch walked with God, and Enoch was no more. Folks, if I'm no more, it's because they've taken my ass out and greased me. They can hide people anywhere. They have an asset. My estimation is probably every mile. It used to be every mile and a half. So they got to get your ass grassed. They can just, there's somebody within that mile and a half that'll do the job for them. Yeah, we're that corrupt in this country. It used to be one out of every seven of us worked for in the auto industry somehow, making the fuel, making the cars, making the roads, parts, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff was built up around that transportation, that auto industry. One out of every seven of us in about 1965. How many of us work for the man today? And I'm not talking the police, I'm talking about the system. I'm talking about the beast system. How many people, men and women, are employed by this government? One out of every five. It's too big. It is a monster. is out of control. And as the prophet said a long time ago, and you people missed it, America, where are you now? Don't you care about your sons and daughters? It's a monster. America, where are you now? Don't you care about your sons and daughters? Or are you intent on passing them through the flames, tossing them into the fire and sacrificing them? Or should I say continuing to sacrifice them for the devils in the present right now? Or are you going to shore up? Are you going to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps? Are you going to refuse to participate in this illegal, illicit government with its maritime admiralty law? Are you going to learn the law of the land, the original 13th Amendment, and kick the Bar Association to the curb? Or are you going to keep letting them enslave you, America, for their king across the seas? And what was the symbol of their king before he came to power? Go look it up. I think you'll be amazed at what you find. And what was it that he was coronated upon? What book did he take the oath upon? I don't know. I just know that the current king said he would never be coronated upon the Bible. Never. So they pulled that one off right in front of the world. They had a ceremony. Oh, we will drop down the veil so people can't see. So isn't it time you lifted the veil? Maybe split the veil in asunder, in two, in half, from the bottom to the top? Isn't it time Toto grabbed a hold of that curtain on this giant play we call life and showed you who's behind it, who has done these sorceries, who has deceived the entire world? What did Yahshua say? He warned us. Be not deceived. That's all we have in this country, are deceptions and lies, one on top of the other. And what did, I can picture him, but I can't think of his name. Oh, Mr. Casey say, when he was head of the CIA, when everything every man, woman, and child believes is wrong, isn't true, then we will know that we have done our job. Wow. Is that making order out of chaos? Oh, hell no. That's the devil and the devil's children for you, making sure to give us chaos so they can pull their magic on us further yet. America is a slave society, a slave system. You got the Babylonian money magic going on. You got the magicians with their spells and their potions. You got the people right out of the Oracle at Delphi with the scams that they played that continue, and they foist off these concoctions that are actually poisons. That's your medicine. Take your medicine. And what, you're going to let them isolate you again? And you're going to let them inject you again with these? Come on, folks, wake up. And you need to realize something. No one man's going to save you. It ain't going to be me. And it sure as hell ain't going to be the chump either. He's one of them. He might be their best actor. You do need to return to Yahweh fully. And I'd say read the Bible and then go read that Constitution and read the Bill of Rights. And when you come to the 13th Amendment, remember, the man who overwrote the original 13th Amendment did so because he was in clear violation of the original 13th Amendment, and it wasn't legal for him to hold the office of presidency. Not only that, he came from a family of name changers. And they lie about him in the history books to cover everything up. His dad wasn't named Lincoln. And his dad even changed his name and shortened it to A.A. Springs from Springsteen, who is the offspring of a Rothschild with a maid, which they're so famous for. And don't worry, Marie Antoinette's got a survivor here in the New World. Who do you think the Queen of Heaven is? My God, that was a famous and rich family, and they foisted off the error of Balaam on you. Yeah, it's the same group of people, the same spirits, the same all that stuff. And you have the spirit of Cain, the spirit of the Antichrist on the planet. Bunch of Antichrists, actually. Yeah. Well, I'm getting too old to lift my gun. So I'm going to put that up for sale because I can't hold it up anymore. It's for slaying dragons. I never did get to use it. She remains unfired. I got all kinds of ammunition for her, too. I call it a high-speed drill, but the pills from that thing are so big, and it's such a deep sound. I'll tell you more about that later. But I'm getting too old to manage some of this old heavy stuff, so I'm going to be cashing in on that. Yahweh is my protector. How do I get that? I do His will. Yahshua told us to pray to Yahweh, not to Him. Yahshua told us that Yahweh is the Savior. Now, how they change places, how the Son becomes the Father, all that stuff, that stuff still puzzles me, but it's okay. It's above my pay grade, maybe. If Yahweh needed me to understand that, He'd let me know. The Bible does not open itself up to the casual reader, and those of us who are reading it, who have been reading it for years, are really just starting to discover stuff in there. It fully informs us as to the nature of the enemy and the fight that's going on. And the way I read it is that we are to establish the kingdom of heaven upon the earth. Yep, that's our job. Do you think we're up to it? Are we, as a conglomeration of species, as a basket of currencies, if you will, because that's what they regard us as, a basket of goyim, a basket of cattle as their assets. They trade us on the stock market. Yeah, stock. Imagine that. Why did he use the term for cattle and animal husbandry and the stock market? Oh, and as far as that bull that came out of the fire, what the hell is that on Wall Street that generates fires, the fires of war, everywhere? And Yahshua called them out. Called out the money changers in the temple. Within the week, they did it to him, not knowing who he was, what he was about, and what they were doing either. Some people say if the devil had known, he wouldn't have done it. May Yahweh bless.